Okay, this is our first body paragraph type we're going to look at. It's called PREC, and we're going to look at how we're going to adapt this paragraph type to our essay on a curious incident of the dog in the night time. So PREC stands for point, reason, example, and concluding sentence. And we've got a little bit of a description here of what you should be doing, but this is quite a general description, and we need to adapt that a little bit to English, and we need to adapt it to our essay answers. So let's look at doing that. So let's start off with our question for reference, and I've given you some other examples about our introduction and a brainstorm as well. So this question refers to the character and explaining how change was important to the text as a whole. And our point is that Haddon, the author, is showing us Christopher's character and how he reacts to unfamiliar situations. In this case, it's the situation where he is being, he's found Wellington, the dead dog, and people come along and react to that. Okay. Now, our reason, which is, the reason for Haddon showing us Christopher's character, well, we've put here, interestingly, we've used our adverb start sentence. Christopher has Asperger's and reacts badly to unfamiliar situations. Christopher does this early on, and this emphasises the challenge and change he faces later in the novel when visiting his mother. So you can see here, when I talked about the challenge and change, we're referring to that second part of the question, explaining how that change was important to the text as a whole. The third part of this paragraph is our example. And my example here is when Christopher is found with Wellington, the dead dog, he reacts by groaning and pushing his forehead against the wet ground. You'll remember this is when Mrs. Shears is yelling at him and the policeman shows up. He then hit the policeman who is investigating because he lifts Christopher off the ground, and we know Christopher does not like being touched. Finally, our concluding sentence: despite the limitations of Asperger's, Christopher needs to change in order to cope with the unfamiliar. So here you can see this is our little rundown or run through of that paragraph type: point, reason, example, and a concluding sentence. You don't have to write just one sentence for each. You may have to write two. If you look at my example, there's a couple of questions there, a couple of sentences there. Same as my reason, there's a couple of sentences there. However, it is a fairly short paragraph type.